I remember the heat of the Mississippi sun, the dust swirling in the air as I ran barefoot across my grandmother's small farm. Life was simple, but it was tough. We had barely enough to get by, and luxury was something I only saw in magazines discarded by wealthier folks. I was born into poverty, raised by my grandmother in a world where little black girls like me weren't expected to dream big. But my grandmother, oh, she was a force of nature. She taught me to read before I was 3, and she made sure I knew the power of words. She would take me to church, and there, in front of the congregation, I would recite verses with all the passion I could muster. It was my first taste of an audience. But childhood wasn't all church and sunshine. It was filled with shadows of struggle, of things no child should have to endure. By the time I was 9, I had already faced pain and suffering that could have broken me. I was abused, made to feel small and powerless, and for years I carried that weight in silence. Yet even in the darkest times I held on to a flicker of hope, a belief, small but stubborn, that my story wasn't meant to end in pain. Screen darkens for a moment, then lightens again as a hopeful tune plays. And if you're listening to this story right now, I want you to remember, no matter where you come from, no matter how tough life gets, there is always a way forward. Subscribe now, and stay with me as I take you through this journey of struggle, resilience, and ultimate triumph. Books became my escape. In a world where I often felt invisible, the words on the pages saw me. They told me I could be more, that I was more. My grandmother had taught me to read before most children could even spell their names, and when I finally went to school, I realized this was my place. I was different from the other kids. I spoke in full sentences, carried myself with a strange confidence, and my teachers noticed. One day, a teacher pulled me aside and said, "Oprah, you have something special. You can speak in a way that makes people listen." That moment changed everything. At home, life was still a struggle. When I moved to live with my mother in Milwaukee, we barely had enough to survive. But at school I found a different kind of wealth. Knowledge. I entered speaking competitions, read every book I could find, and for the first time I felt like I had power over my own destiny. But let me tell you something. Believing in yourself doesn't always come easy. There were days when doubt crept in, when I wondered if I was really good enough. If you've ever felt that way, you're not alone. But here's the secret. Confidence isn't something you're born with. It's something you build. And if you're finding value in this journey, hit that subscribe button now, so you don't miss what happens next. Because the road ahead wasn't easy, but every challenge, every setback, was shaping me for something greater. I still remember the day I walked into that radio station for the first time. I was just a high school student, but my voice, my words, were finally being heard. I had won a public speaking contest, and that small victory led me to my first real opportunity, a job as a newsreader on a local station. It felt like the beginning of something big. For the first time in my life, I wasn't just dreaming about a future, I was living it. And that dream only grew when I got a full scholarship to Tennessee State University. Education was my ticket out of poverty, and I grabbed it with both hands. Scene shifts to a young Oprah nervously walking into a television studio for the first time. Then, the moment I had been waiting for arrived, I got my first TV job. I was just 19, and I became the first black female news anchor at a station in Nashville. I was overjoyed. This was it, right? The big break? But life doesn't work that way. When I moved to Baltimore for a bigger opportunity, reality hit me hard. I wasn't like the other news anchors. My voice was too emotional, my style too raw. I wasn't the polished, detached journalist they wanted. And one day, they told me what I had been dreading. I was being removed from the anchor desk. I was devastated. Had I failed? Was this the end of my dream? But sometimes failure isn't the end. Sometimes it's a redirect. They didn't fire me completely. Instead, they moved me to a morning talk show. At first, I thought it was a demotion, but then something clicked. I wasn't made to just read the news. I was made to connect with people. This setback wasn't a loss. It was the start of something greater. And if you've ever faced failure, remember this. Sometimes life is just pushing you toward where you truly belong. Hit that subscribe button and stay with me, because the real journey was only just beginning. When I first sat in that chair as a talk show host, I had no idea what was coming. All I knew was that, for the first time in my career, I was free to be myself. No scripted news, no forced neutrality, just real conversations with real people. The show was called AM Chicago, and at the time, it was struggling. Barely anyone was watching. But I didn't care about the ratings. I cared about the people. I listened to their stories, felt their emotions, and gave them a space to be heard. And something incredible happened. The audience grew. People connected with what we were doing. Within months, AM Chicago wasn't just another morning show. It was the #1 show in the city. Then came the moment that changed everything. The network saw the success, and they made a decision. AM Chicago would be rebranded into the Oprah Winfrey Show. It was a dream come true, but it was also terrifying. Would people accept me on a national level? Could I carry an entire show on my shoulders? The answer was yes. The Oprah Winfrey Show became more than just a talk show. It became a movement. We talked about real issues, things no one else on television was discussing. Abuse, mental health, spirituality, empowerment, topics that mattered. And people responded. The show wasn't just a success. It was a phenomenon. But through it all, I never forgot where I came from. Every time I stepped onto that stage, I carried with me the little girl from Mississippi who had once felt invisible. And now, she wasn't just seen. She was making others feel seen too. And if you believe in chasing your dreams, in turning your struggles into success, hit that subscribe button and stay with me, because this journey was just getting started. Success is never just about reaching the top. It's about what you do when you get there. And for me, the real question was, how do I use this platform to create something bigger than myself? As the Oprah Winfrey Show dominated television, I faced one of the hardest decisions of my career. I had spent years building this empire, but I knew, deep down, that true power isn't just in being successful. It's in having control over your own destiny. So, I made a bold move. I created my own production company, Harpo Productions. That's Oprah, spelled backward. For the first time, I wasn't just the face of a show. I owned it. I made the decisions. I told the stories I wanted to tell. People doubted me. They said, "Oprah, why take the risk? You have everything you could ever want." But I knew something they didn't. Real success isn't just about having a seat at the table. It's about owning the table. And success wasn't just about me. It was about giving back. I looked at young girls who had dreams but no opportunities, who had brilliance but no access to education. I saw myself in them. And that's why I created the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for girls. In South Africa, to give them a future, to give them a chance. Because when you empower others, you empower yourself. Every decision I made, every risk I took, was about something bigger than television, bigger than fame. It was about impact. And if you believe in using your voice, your power, to make a difference, hit that subscribe button now. Because in the end, success is not about what you achieve. It's about who you lift up along the way. Looking back, I realize every struggle, every setback, every moment of doubt was shaping me into the person I was meant to be. I was once a little girl in Mississippi, running barefoot on dusty roads, believing that life had already decided my fate. But fate is not something written in stone. It's something you create, one choice at a time. I've learned that failure is not the end. It is the universe telling you to change direction. Every time I was rejected, every time I was told I wasn't good enough, life was simply pushing me toward where I truly belonged. I've learned that true power comes from within. It's not about fame or money. It's about knowing who you are, standing in your truth, and using your voice to lift others up. I've learned that giving is the greatest gift. Success means nothing if you're the only one at the top. Real success is bringing others with you, opening doors for those who never had the key. And now I want you to think about your own journey, where you are, where you want to be. No matter where you come from, no matter what struggles you've faced, your story is not over. You have the power to shape it. If this story has inspired you, if you believe in the power of resilience, of dreaming beyond your circumstances, hit that subscribe button and join me on this journey of growth, wisdom, and purpose. Because your story is still being written, and the best chapters are yet to come.